Hello, my name's Mr. Sinclair. I'm a teacher from Newport in Wales. I've been teaching maths for 25 years and I've been teaching additional maths since 2012, give or take. So here's my presentation about factorising quadratics. Now this should build on top of your GCSE you've been doing. And there's lots of different ways of doing factorising quadratics. I'm sure your teachers have shown you several different ways. I'm going to show you one to do with smiles. Which is like a reverse foil. If you're wondering why I'm doing this method, I find it handy for when we factorise cubics, which will be my revision session 7. And this will lead into that lesson. And there are many multiple ways of doing this way. So the way we do it in my school, x squared minus 2x minus 15. So we think this is a B grade GCSE maths question. Factorise, they've got nothing in common, so it's two sets of brackets. Both going to start with the letter x to make x squared, and then I make two numbers to make 15. So it's going to be 5 and 3. And this is what I mean by the smiles. We put on ours 3x minus 5x, and that will give us minus 2x, is what we need in the middle. So we put equals minus 2x. If the signs were the wrong way around, if I put plus 5 and minus 3, that would have just given me 2x. So this is how we do it in our school. Lots of schools are different. There's things called slide and divide. Many a different thing you can do. But I'm going to show you the smile method. This is basically the reverse of foil, or the reverse of the grid method, or the box method. Depends how you've been shown to expand the brackets in the first place. Now, as I say, in additional maths, we're not really looking for x squared minus 2x minus 15. We're looking for numbers where there's a coefficient in front of the x squared, something like a 2x squared or 3x squared, maybe even a 15x squared for additional maths. So this one is basically a hard GCSE question, but it can be on additional. 3x squared plus 5x minus 2. Now, as I say, some of you might be shown to multiply 3 times 2 to make that minus 6 and do it that way. And there's nothing wrong. There's lots of different ways. We just find to make cubics, which is where we're aiming for in the long run, it's just easier if we just factorise the brackets as they are. So, first of all, the first bracket's going to start with 3x and the second one's going to start with x. That makes 3x squared. Now, again, I'm looking for two numbers on the end that will make 2. So we've tried minus 1. That'll give us minus 1x from that smile. And from the other one, we're going to have to put 2 in, and it's going to be plus 2. And let's just check. That gives us 6x minus 1x, which will give us 5x, which is the middle term. The bit in the middle is what we're looking to get. So the middle bit, absolutely underlined where in the middle. So we've got 5x in the middle, and we put equals 5x in the answer box. And that will make 5x. If you put the signs the wrong way around, you're going to end up with minus 5x. The problem with this method we use is that it does involve a little bit of trial and error to make sure you get the right numbers. But the more of them you do, the more you get used to it. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is multiplying numbers and adding them. So I'm doing 3 2s are 6, and minus 1 times x is minus 1. So 6 take away 1 is plus 5. Now here's some questions for you to trace up. These are the straightforward B grade ones. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to work on that and see what answer you come up, and then I'll put the answers on the board. Yeah, just a little recap. Our school sort of told you to do find two numbers that multiply to 18 and add or subtract to make 11. So the first one, they're going to multiply to 18 and 9 and 2. 6 and 3 won't take us to 11. 9 and 2 will take us to 11. Next one, 48. Well, I would have thought 4 12s first of all, but 4 12s are not going to give us 14. I think 6 8s will. I go on to the next line and show you the first answer, just so you see what we came up with. That is the first answer. X plus 9 and x plus 2. And the second answer and the third answer are now appearing. Now, those are fairly straightforward because they're all plus signs. So I'm going to flick back to the original questions to give you a chance to look at the rest, but you can look at those to help you. 1, 2, and 3 I would consider straightforward because they're all pluses. As you see in a question like that, I suppose in GCSE or additional maths or even A level, you more likely to see one where there's a mixture of signs. Two numbers are multiplied to 21, 7 and 3, 1 and 21. Well, 7 and 3 are going to link somehow to make the number 4. Whereas question 5, there's lots of multiples to make 24. There's 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. I think 3 and 8 is going to give us the 5x somewhere along the line. So just be careful with the signs you put in. On the right hand side, there's a mixture of signs. So I'm now going to beam the answers up for the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I've already shown you 1 and 2 and 3. They're fairly straightforward, all being adds. 4 and 5, x plus 7, x minus 3. X plus 8, x minus 3. If you want to check with those, 7 take away 3 is 4, and 8 take away 3 is 5. Now this is great for questions that just have an x squared as well, the number 1 in front as a coefficient, if they just say x squared. All right. So again, number 6, I think the numbers are multiplied to 35. Fairly easy, that one is only 7 and 5. But make sure they'll give you minus 2. Number 7, numbers multiplied to 12, 6 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 12. 6 and 2 are going to give us something there, but again, it's going to be minus 4. Number 8, again, it's just number 24. Any number with lots of multiples is a bit harder to work out. 2 and 12, 1 and 24, 4 and 6, 5 and 3 again. 5 and 3, no, 8 and 3. No, missed it there. So we'll have a look at that answer in a second. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. We might have a problem with that, but we'll see when the answer comes up. Number 9, numbers are multiplied to 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. 4 and 5 is going to make minus 9. And remind yourself, they'd have to multiply to positive 20. So I'm going to put the answer up for now for 6 and 7. Now, number 8, I believe there's a mistake on the slide. So x minus 6, x minus 2, just to show you that one, that's what I was basically showing you earlier. Question 8, that would have had to have said plus 12 on the end. Now you won't get any mistakes in GCSEs or additional maths or A-level papers, but sometimes as a teacher I try and show the answers that are wrong. This one you can't factorize because there's not two numbers that multiply to 24 that will add or subtract to minus 8. So my answer said it had to be minus 6 and minus 2. That would have made that plus 12 on the end. So I now put the answer up to all 10 of them. If you just want to check, number 9 minus 5 times minus 4 is plus 20, minus 8 times minus 4 is plus 32. So say question 8, the answer there is wrong. You couldn't actually factorize that question. Now, the next slide goes on when the coefficient is not 1, when it's bigger than 1. Now, these are a little bit harder because it's not just two numbers that multiply to 3 and make 5. This is one where you have to do some trial and error to get your first set of brackets correct and your second set. And they start off quite nicely. The first set of brackets is going to start with 2x and x. Number 2 is going to start with 3x and x. Number 3, 2x and x, 2x and x. When you get to 4, it's a little bit trickier because there's two ways of getting 4. You can go 2x and 2x, and 4x and 1x. Now, I don't remember the answer to this one straight away, but I always tell my pupils that you generally pick the two numbers in the middle. What I mean by that is 1 and 4 are either side, but on this one, 2 and 2 are in the middle. So I would start with 2 and 2x. I might find it doesn't always work, but in 20 years of teaching, that seems to be the most general way to get it to work. So I'm going to leave you a chance at looking at number 1. If you want, you can scroll back this video to have a look at the example I showed you with the smile idea. And I'll put the answers up to 1, 2, and 3 in a couple of minutes' time. Okay, so let's put the answers up. Now, if you did the smiles underneath here, you'd have 3x, and under the other smile, you'd have 2x, and 3x and 2x makes 5x, which is what it said in the original one. Now, how do I know not to do 1 and 3 the other way around? If I'd done 1 and 3 the other way around, I would have 2x and 3x, 2x and 3, which would make 6x, and 1 times x would make 1x, and 6x and 1x, if I take them away from each other, it would give me 5x. But that means one of these would have to be a minus, and a minus times a plus would make it a negative on the end. And the question did say it had to be a positive on the end. So this method isn't always foolproof, but it's a way of checking that you've multiplied correctly and you've done all your adding and subtracting correctly. Now, so I put the answers up to 2 and 3 as well. Again, if you drew your smiles underneath these, check they work. And they give you that middle term that was in the question. So those are the answers so far. I'm going to go back to the question now to give you a chance to finish off the exercise before putting the rest of the answers up. Number 4, I'm definitely going to start with 2x and x, and I've got to find 2 numbers multiplied to 6, but then you draw the smiles to make sure they add to 4x in the middle. Number 5, I said I would start with 2x and 2x. Now, there's only really 2 ways of making 25, 5 and 5, or 1 and 25. Again, I would always try the 2 numbers in the middle first, so I'd try 5 and 5 rather than 1 and 25. Let's see what those answers give me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Again, if you want to just check, 6 times minus 1 is minus 6, and did say that on the end. And minus 5 times minus 5 is plus 25, it said that. This smile would give me minus 10x, and this smile would give me another minus 10x, and that makes the minus 20x in the middle. Back to the exercise, to the right-hand side. Now, at least these are a little bit nicer, 6 and 7, because there's a prime number on the end. So only 2 numbers you can use on the end, 1 and 7, or maybe 7 and 1. Number 8's a bit tricky because you've got 9x squared, so I'd suggest you start with 3x and x. Number 9, okay, they're big numbers on the front, but actually prime numbers, so that makes it a little bit easier. And must admit the numbers on the end are not prime numbers. Let's put the answer up to 6 and 7. Okay. So number 7 was 2x and 2x. Again, we got this 4x in the front. I would try 2x and 2x, but sometimes question 6 was, it's not always 2x and 2x, it was 4x and x, that will make 4x squared. Number 9, number 8, pretty straightforward because they're all pluses. Number 9, do your smiles, minus 4x, and 7x times 3 is plus 21x. 21 minus 4x is plus 17x. Let's just check, that's what the question said for. It said plus 17x. Now, number 10 looks very same to number 9, but this minus in the middle makes a big difference. So we're going to start 7x and x for question 10. But then we've got to check in the middle. We've got the signs the other way around. Because this way around in question 9 led us to plus 21 minus 4, which was plus 17. Whereas this time we went minus 17, so we do plus 4 minus 21. Now, Realistically, in any GCSE, additional maths, A-level paper, the most you're really going to factorise is maybe 1 or 2 questions. So you won't get as many as you've seen here today. Now, these are real past paper questions from additional maths papers. And as I said, generally additional maths does not start with x squared and very rarely starts with a prime number on the front. This one's a bit tricky because you've got 2 prime numbers. So you've got a non-prime number on the front and a non-prime number on the back. Now, sometimes I would tell my classes to put a 1x inside there to make it easier for you to see. So first of all, you just got to factorise. Now, I would suggest this one's going to start with 5x and 3x. I'm going to give you a little chance to work on the 5x and 3x and put your smiles in to see if you can make them give you minus 1x before I show how I would put my solution. So as you can see, I've made the odd errors. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with making errors as long as you learn from them. So I put the wrong signs in first of all. So here's to prove what happens when you do the wrong signs. I originally put a minus and a plus. That would have made that say minus 9x, and that would have made that say plus 10x. Well, minus 9 plus 10 would give us plus 1x. We don't, we want minus 1x. In the box. So I've obviously gone and corrected my solution. Now, hence solve the equation. Hopefully you've done some of this already in GCSE maths. You're going to write out 5x plus 3 equals 0, because it says equals 0 on the end. If it doesn't say equals 0, you've got to make it say equals 0. For additional maths, that doesn't often happen. They'll always say equals 0. And then the right-hand side, you're meant to say, or 3x minus 2 equals 0. Again, I've changed the signs due to my error earlier. So 5x plus 3 equals 0. Again, depends which way you've been shown in your schools, but I take away 3 from both sides. And then I divide by 5. If I take away 3 from both sides, we'd add 5x equals minus 3, then divided by 5. On the right-hand side, I got 3x minus 2, add 2 to both sides, and then divide by 3. Generally, that's the perfect solution. Sometimes when they might ask, fix the numbers, so it has to be a positive answer. You're more likely to see those in GCSE than you are additional. Okay, next slide, pretty similar question now. Factorise, hence solve. Now, when I was in year 11, 12, 13, I struggled to get my head around the difference between factorise and solving. Factorise means you draw the brackets. Solve means you want your final line to say something like x equals. Now, this one's not as hard as the last one because you've got 3, which is a prime number on the end, and you've got 8 on the front. So have a play around with this question now. Put your brackets down, think what's going to multiply to 8 first. You've got 1, 8 and 2, 4. Or 4, 2 and 8, 1. Say drawing your smiles is pretty straightforward, but sometimes you get the wrong combination. It will happen. So I believe this would probably be 4x and 2x. As I said, always choose the 2 numbers in the middle. I would choose 4 and 2 rather than 1 and 8. So we'll see what answer we come up with here. So I got 4x and 2x, that'll make 8x squared. And then I've gone with 1 and 3. 1 and 3 makes 3. Now I don't normally put the signs in until I've drawn the smiles. So that smile gave me a 2x. And the other smile will give me a 12x. And then I think, well, how am I going to get from 2 and 12 to minus 10? Plus 2 minus 12. Now, because plus is on the top, plus goes in first. Minus is on the bottom, minus goes in second. If you multiplied those out, it would go back to this question. So if you ever wanted to check, you could FOIL it back out, or grid method it, box method it, however you've been shown to do it in school. I've taught something called eyebrows, nose and chin. Now, the next bit then says to solve it. So that's when we're going to get x equals. And if 4x plus 1 equals 0, doesn't matter what the other bracket is worth, because 0 times anything in the world will give us 0. Okay, again, different schools will show you different ways to do this. Take away 1 from both sides. That says times, we divide by 4. That says add 1, so we take away 1 from both sides. That says times t for times divided by 4. So on the right hand side, added 3 and then divided by 2. Okay, and here we get factorise and solve. Again, it's a bit nasty when we're 15x squared and the fact it's number 8 on the end, because neither of those are non-prime numbers. Give you a chance to read through that. I'm assuming I'm going to do 5 and 3 rather than 1 and 15, and I think I'm going to do 2 and 4, but I might find 4 and 2 works. So I'll show you the answer to that. So I would start with 5x and 2 and 3x minus 4. Now I might find the 2 and the 4 the wrong way around, so I draw my smiles. 2 3s are 6, 5 4s are 20. And I think, well, how am I going to get minus 14 from 6 and 20? Okay, probably plus 6 minus 20. Plus on the top, so plus goes in the first bracket. Minus on the bottom, so it goes in the second bracket. Now you use these brackets to help you solve the equation, because if the first bit's worth 0, doesn't matter what the second bracket's worth. Or if the second bracket's worth 0, it doesn't matter what the first bracket is, because anything times 0 is 0. So I'm going to write out 5x plus 2 equals 0, or 3x minus 4 equals 0. And I do what I would call my steps to undo plus 2, and undo times by 5. And so hoping the solving bit is something you're familiar with it from GCSE maths. Next one, same format, but just laid out slightly differently. They haven't called it part A and B. So these are all from real additional maths papers. See what you can make of that one. Again, it's not very nice because 6 isn't prime and number 10 is not prime either. So first of all, I would have factorized. I'm going to start, I'm assuming, with 3x and 2x. And then again, on the back, I can make 10. Well, I'm going to think of 5 and 2, or maybe 2 and 5. So I wrote 3x and 2x, and because I'm quite good at multiplying, I've been doing this for a long time, I thought to myself, that if I put 5 there first, 5 2s are 10, and if I put 2 here, 3 2s are 6. And I'm never going to get the number 11 from 10 and 6. So I'm quite good with multiplying in my head before I start trying the right order. So then I switched around to put 2 and 5. So I know that 2 2s are 4, and I know that 3 5s are 15. Well, I know 4 and 15 might well link to the number minus 11. And they do by putting plus 4 minus 15. Again, the key thing for you then is to solve them. Generally, if you put the wrong signs in it, put them the wrong way around, but then you go on to solve, you still score the marks. So it's worth sticking to it. So the right-hand side, you should have seen pretty much at GCSE before. Merely at GCSE, you don't normally get a 6x squared at the front. You normally get a prime number on the front. The same routine, take away 2, then divide by 3. On the right-hand side, plus 5, divide by 2. And you do need both the answers for the full marks here. Next one, back to the format where it says factorise and then says hence solve. Again, 21 on the front's not the nicest number, but I'm reckoning 7 and 3. And on the back, I've got the number 4. 2 numbers multiplied to 4. I've got 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. So I'll let you have a go at that yourself. I'm sure I would have started with 7x and 3x rather than 21x and 1x. And I'm assuming I would have done 2 and 2, but I don't know until I've checked my solution. If you want to check 2 and 2 or 4 and 1 or even 1 and 4 and draw your smiles, and it might not always work first time. So this one, it was 2 and 2. And again, I start thinking ahead. 2 3s are 6, 2 7s are 14. I'm thinking, how am I going to make -8, not 8, -8 from 6 and 14? That's how I did that one. Okay, solve. Pretty much same routine now. 7x plus 2 equals 0 or 3x minus 2 equals 0. Where do I get those lines from? From the brackets. Do your steps or your undos or your reverses or your inverses, whatever you've been told. -2, 7 joined to the x by dividing by 7. Same. Add 2 and then divide by 3. There's not many more of these sheets, but they are very samey now. Now this one looks horrible because of number 20 on the front, but at least it's nice because of number 3 on the back. So again, I give you a chance to think what you're going to factorize those as. Draw your 2 brackets out. You've got the choice of 1 and 20, 2 and 10, or 4 and 5. Well, I'm assuming I'm going to start with 5x and 4x, say the 2 numbers in the middle, but I could be wrong. So it has worked with 5x and 4x, and I know number 3 can only be 3 and 1 or 1 and 3. But if I put 1 and 3 here, if I put 1 here, that smile would give me 4x, and that smile would give me 15x, and 4 and 15 are not going to give me 7. I'm going to add some pluses. So then I switch the 1 and 3 around and switch them the other way around. 3 4s are 12, 5 1s are 5. 12 and 5 can make 7 if I do 12 minus 5. Then hence solve. Fairly straightforward now. If you've seen the rest of the questions, you should be okay with these. Undo, -1 goes to +1, undo times 4 goes to divided by 4. So you do have to write both solutions down. Next one, 14. This has got to be a nice one. 14, you're going to do 2 and 7, or 14 and 1, and number 1 on the end, you're going to do 1 and 1. I'll give you a chance to work through that. Okay, so I think it's going to be 7x and 2x. And I know straight away 7x and 2x, 7 times 1 is 7 and 2 times 1 is 2. So I'm confident that's going to be the right answer. I'm just going to get the signs in the right place. So 7 times 1 is -7. And 1 times 2 is +2. Just check 2 and 7, right? -7 plus 2, it takes to -5x. Hence solve. Are you fairly familiar with these now? Opposite +1 -1, opposite times 7 divided by 7. Opposite -1 +1, opposite of 2x is half. Divide both sides by 2. Excellent. Again, it's not very friendly, 27x squared on the front. So many numbers multiplied to 27. So again, I'll give you a chance to look through that. Okay, so 27x squared, I think realistically I've got 9x and 3x. And for 5, I've got 5 and 1 or 1 and 5. Check. So I've done 5 and 1. 5 3s are 15, 9 1s are 9, How am I going to get 6 from 15 and 9? Will have to be plus 15 and minus 9. So plus is first, goes in the first bracket. Minus is second, so it goes in the second bracket. And solve the equation. 9x plus 5 equals 0, or 3x minus 1 equals 0. Now, I have seen some students I've taught over the years who've gone straight from 9x plus 5 equals 0 straight away to minus 5 ninths. That will get the full mark for that if they do that method. But I normally train my pupils to do bit by bit, take away each number at a time. So get rid of the 5 first and then the 9. Now that was the end of session 6. Sure, that's the final slide there. Very similar questions if you'd like to go through them again. Now this will link in with revision session 7, where we factorize with a cubic, so we end up with 3 sets of brackets. As I say, this lesson is a lot of GCSE maths in there. A lot of the additional maths does have GCSE involved. The next question topic is really additional maths only, and then one of the early topics in A-level. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll enjoy my session 7. Remember, my sessions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 have already been put on the additional maths folder in recordings. Good luck, everybody.